So
Wow.
this is exciting. I'm getting to do a lot of Rotary, a lot of vocational service. So good morning. And I just want to start by saying thank you because these are really strange times. And so my expertise of being a clinical psychologist, I'm hoping that I can maybe help give you some tips that might help create a better balance for you during these awkward times, maybe help you stay sane, less irritable, less mentally, emotionally, and physically fatigued, and lower any anxiety that you might be experiencing. So hopefully this will leave you with something that you can use and share with others.
I'm counting on it. I hope you can hear me now. Is it better now by chance?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Not sure what that issue was, but I'm glad the audio is fixed. Well, Mary, thank you so much. I can't believe how many of these you're doing and what a wonderful service that you're providing to the Rotary world and giving of your time. So we're very appreciative of that. So I guess we'll launch right into the issue at hand, because probably most of us are spending a lot of time at home these days. And I know many people are feeling a sense of being a little bit overwhelmed and anxious during these times. Wondering what your thoughts and advice might be for people in that situation.
Thanks. That's a great question. Yeah. So we're all kind of locked down right now. The first thing I want you to do in order to reduce the feelings of being overwhelmed by this, if you're anything like the average person, you may be experiencing that this, amount of information is coming to you like a fire hose in your face. It's 24/7 COVID-19, and that's just too much. And normally I tell my patients when they present their problem to me, I usually tell them to go out and get information, because typically information is power. But in this case, information is overload. So first thing you should start doing immediately today is reducing the amount of information you actually allow into your environment. My recommendation is twice per day. I start my day with my statewide news, whatever my governor might be saying, going to my state websites, so that I know what I need to do in order to keep the people closest to me safe, my family, my friends, my patients. And that's all you really need to start your day. The rest of the day, you shouldn't be picking up the phone and checking, the websites and Facebook and all the COVID stuff that's coming in at you. The other time that I check it is at the end of my work day, typically between 5 and 6. I go to a more global source, and I want to emphasize that the source should be reliable, not sensational. So go to a reliable global source to see what's happening in the world, so that you have a better, clearer understanding of where we're at globally with this pandemic. But other than that, I'm not recommending that you really look much at this, because there's not much that's going to change within those 8 hours. And also, don't check it after about 7 p.m. Don't look at information COVID-19 related after 7 p.m. because you really need to allow your mind to decompress and to recover from your natural day, but also from the stresses of this time.
So that's just great advice, Mary. And I see how easy it is to fall into that trap, because it is coming at us for in so many ways. And so we are hung up on it. So that's really a great suggestion.
Yeah, it's on the news, it's on the television, it's in your internet feed, it's in your emails. I'm a psychologist, and I get emails even from the provider that does my billing. I use a computerized billing thing, and they're sending me information. It's just too much. We don't need all this information. We need a little bit, but not a lot. So back that down. And the second thing you can do is, especially if you're working from home. This is for all you new home. So many of us were saying, "Oh, I would love to work from home. Oh, I can't wait to retire." Not so sure about that anymore, are we? So for those of you who have all of a sudden been thrown into working at your home, I would like to encourage you to think about routine, because routine is a predictor of personal well-being. Just like children, adults do so much better when they know what is expected of them, especially when they're under stress. And in fact, the lack of routine or schedule can actually make you feel lethargic and doubtful. So if you stick to a regular 8-hour workday, just like you were if you actually had left your house and gone to work, that's going to be a more productive day for you. However, if you're like me, I'm sitting at my dining room table all day long, staring at a computer all day long. So we need to start breaking our routine, our schedule down a bit. So I recommend chunking your day into 2-hour increments. And at the end of every 2 hours, set an alarm on your phone, get up, get away from that computer, and get out of the room that you're in. Go to either outdoors is optimal, and take a 10-minute break, or go to another room in the house and do something different. You can stretch, you can walk around the block, you can read a book for 10 minutes, you can listen to music or meditate, anything that breaks up the monotony of your routine. Chunking your day and still sticking to that 8-hour schedule is going to make you feel more productive and more successful at the end of your day. But routine also means taking care of yourself. This stay-at-home order is not an excuse to start binge eating and binge drinking and becoming a couch potato. In fact, I think more than ever, this is a time to think about your nutrition, your fitness goals, your hydration, and to account for those into your daily routine, because you have the time now to do these things. And I encourage you to write your goals down, because written goals increase personal accountability and increase the probability that you'll actually achieve those goals. And you'll notice that I mentioned hydration. I want to give you just one little piece of science. When you are under stress or anxious or depressed, your body actually dehydrates at a much faster rate. So do try to incorporate at least 60 ounces of water into your day. I actually set an alarm when I'm at home. I don't need to do this so much at work because I have this very interesting routine at work. But every hour I set an alarm so that I know to drink 6 to 8 ounces of water right then, right there. I just gulp it down. And that helps me to stay hydrated. And I get about 80 ounces that way. So it's really helpful. Stay hydrated.
Those are great suggestions, Mary. I think a lot of us are finding that as we try and get our steps in and do walking, very often those walks go past the fridge, and that's probably not the best thing to be doing. So those are good suggestions on how to try and manage some of that. So in these really heavy times, are there other suggestions that you have in terms of how we can just generally improve our mood and increase our sense of well-being and happiness?
Yeah, absolutely. So mood and happiness are regulated by various chemicals in the brain. Serotonin is one chemical in the brain that is especially enhanced by exercise. So even a brisk 10-minute walk or jumping jacks or burpees or whatever you like to do, for 5 to 10 minutes, and those are great for those breaks that I mentioned, that can increase your serotonin level. And that's one of the chemicals that's responsible for happiness. But the powerhouse neurotransmitter that really elevates mood and is responsible for our happiness is a chemical called dopamine. And dopamine is produced in the brain. It's a neurotransmitter. And when dopamine is released in our brain, we feel great. And there's actually some things that you can do to force or promote the dopamine explosion in your brain. So let me teach you a couple of those things right now. So the first one is gratitude. I want all of you just to take a moment here, and I want you to think or write down something that makes you grateful. And I want you, when you do this, to really reflect on it. Just take 5 seconds and do that. And now reflect on it. Think about it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to explain just yet what happened, but I'm going to go to the next thing. I want everybody to kind of lean into the camera. Come with me. Come to me. There you go. Now smile. Yeah, some of you already were because it's infectious. All right, now back away. Reflect. If you begin to really learn how to do biofeedback, you should actually have been able to feel that. What just happened was dopamine got pushed into your brain. When you think about things that you're grateful for, and when you smile, even if it's a forced smile or a fake smile, your brain releases dopamine. It increases the amount that's in the presynaptic gaps. And if you notice, when I leaned in and started smiling, some of you did it automatically. I didn't have to tell you to do it. Smiling, just like yawning, is actually contagious. So if you want to like not infect people with COVID-19, but infect them with something good, smile at them. It is so hard to not smile back at someone who's smiling at you. So you can actually promote dopamine release in other people without them even knowing it. So you're passing on that sort of happiness factor. So those are two great ways to get the dopamine flowing. With my depressed patients, I do actually use these smiling exercises in session. And then as homework, I ask them to stand in the mirror and smile at different increments during the day for 10 to 20 seconds. And it's unbelievable how you can actually start to change the patterns of thinking and the emotional patterns that are already laid out in your brain and elevate your mood.
That is such a great point. And I notice how challenging it is when so many of us are wearing masks or scarves when we're out. I know when I'm out with my dogs for a walk and have masks on, and you're passing people that you would normally smile, and we don't see that. And it's really a challenge. So that's a really important point to do that. And I think, sometimes we almost get to the point where we're feeling a little bit out of control and need to change and get back to that kind of feeling of positivity and smiling and gratitude. I mean, are there other things that we can do to help change that when we're feeling a little bit out of control, perhaps?
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking a little bit about anxiety maybe too. One of the worst enemies of dopamine is anxiety. The fastest way that you can actually become anxious is by what if thinking. And what if thinking does cause you to feel overwhelmed. It causes worry. I want you to imagine that you have 3 petri dishes in front of you. The first one is labeled the future. The second one is labeled the here and now, the present. And the third one is labeled the past. Anxiety breeds pretty well in the past, and that's what I call would've, could've, should've thinking. But anxiety breeds best in the future. It loves the future, the what if possibilities. In the middle, though, in that petri dish labeled right here, right now, it is almost impossible for it to breed in there. So when you're what if thinking, you're in the worry zone. It's kind of like being on a bridge that isn't even built yet. Can you imagine how unstable that really is? And what happens when you're doing that is your amygdalas, this is tiny little almond-shaped things in your limbic system in both hemispheres, that lights up and it sends a message to the hypothalamus. And then the hypothalamus sends off an alarm, and that's when you get that fight, flight, or freeze response happening, and all of your autonomic nervous system turns on and responds, and you sweat, and you feel butterflies in your stomach, and you worry, you feel nervous. That's the anxiety relay that I'm talking about neurochemically. And there are 2 ways that I like to use that are really fast with my patients to turn that system off. So we talked earlier about turning your dopamine system on. Now I want to teach you how to turn your amygdalas off. So the first thing you can do is deep breathing exercises. And I think we all have heard of deep breathing and maybe even do it, but I want to show you the proper way to do a deep breath. So first and foremost, you have to inhale through your nose, and the exhale has to come from your mouth. It can't be the other way around. It can't be one, not the other. You have to also sort of hold your breath in between so that you're retaining the oxygen in your lungs in between. The inhale and the exhale also has to be incredibly slow. And the more you practice this, the more you become mindful about the way you're breathing, the easier and the better this is going to be for you. I'm going to demonstrate it for you and show you what it looks like, okay? And I'm really good at this because I do it every day, so it's a long thing. Someone may even want to time it, okay? So go ahead and press your timer on your phone, and I'm going to go ahead and start right now on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm finally full. I'm holding my breath. And I'm going to exhale. That's one deep breath.
Wow, that was long. I tried to do it with you, and that was very, very long. Awesome. Yeah.
The more you practice this, the better you'll get at regulating how slow you can bring it in and how slow you can exhale. When you pierce your lips, you should be making the sound blowing out, and you can press your tongue to regulate how much comes out at a time. I recommend to my patients that you do this 2 or 3 times in a row, but that you absolutely do it seated, because actually on the second and third one, you can begin to get a little lightheaded, but that's a positive response. So let's everybody try it together, all right? So that I don't feel so weird about doing it. Okay, now, and one more thing, you notice that I used my arms and my body. That also behaviorally is sending signals to your brain that when you come down, I am relaxing. I'm letting my muscles go. I'm just totally relaxing. You'll notice my head was down, up, and then back down. So everybody kind of lean in. Come to me, everybody. Good. All right, most of you are going to participate. Ready? On my count of 3, we're going to inhale. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice and slow. Good. Now hold. Good. Now release and exhale. Now feel that. Check in. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
You see the difference? It's really incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, 2 to 3 times seated. All right. The next thing you can do is a wonderful therapy that I use almost every day with most of my patients. This works on anxiety, depression, sleep problems, anger management, irritability, focus. It's kind of it's like the perfect pill for everything. It's called bilateral sound. And bilateral sound is music or nature sounds that you use with earbuds. And you plug in your earbuds into your ears, and then you close your eyes. And what you're going to hear is music or nature sounds going from one ear to the next, and one ear to the next. And you'll notice that your eyes begin to track the music very naturally. Your eyes are going left to right with the sounds. And when that happens, a brain wave begins to form, and it starts crossing both hemispheres of the brain, crossing that midline section. And when that happens, the amygdalas that we talked about, that relay to the hypothalamus, that shuts down. It's like the two cannot coexist. And it works within, anywhere between 60 seconds and 6 minutes. I'm going to share my screen. I think I have the ability to do that here and show you who my favorite guy is. And, whoopsie, there we go. Share, let's see. Well, I'm going to stop the share and try that again. And share my screen. I just keep getting, okay, it's not working. So I'm
Looks
going to
like it
show you,
is.
I have a cheat sheet just in case that happens. All right, okay. So, all right, it's not very good with my background. His name is David Grand. David Grand, as in the biggest, the grandest, G-R-A-N-D.
Mhm.
And he coined his term biolateral sound. And if you go to YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, you can find his music. His album, I think, is called Brain Spotting. And I just think his product is the best. For me, I really think his work is just phenomenal. And that's what I use in session with my patients. And so again, he's got about 16 songs on that. Some of them are nature sounds like water or the ocean. One of my favorites is called Awestruck, and that is like a thunderstorm. So you're going to go on, you're going to see which one suits you best. Some of them are just noises, like one of them sounds, I think it's called shaken, not stirred. It sounds like this. And that's all it is. So it's something being shaken, maybe like an ice thing, you know,
Yeah.
cocktail maker. So whatever works best for you, you're going to stick to those types of sounds. And you can Google bilateral sound and come up with all kinds of things on the internet. And any of them are great. Binaural is another way to say it. So check that out after this session and see how you like it. But I use it a lot for sleep too. It helps me to sleep. And I use it even with my eyes open when I'm doing paperwork sometimes. It just
If you want to
improves
try it
focus.
again, Mary, Holly just sent me a message that you might be able to share now. She made some adjustments, so just give it a quick try. And while you're doing that,
Yeah, let's see if I can do that.
I'm thinking too, that those are great. So I've never heard of bilateral sound, so that's a really great suggestion to have made. So thank you for that. So let's see if that comes up now.
For some reason, I can't. I don't know why. I think it's
Okay.
it's just the way I've got my Zoom up today for some reason.
Right.
You got him. That's all you need to know.
got
Just
it.
a picture of his
Bilateral.
album.
Perfect.
It's just a
Very
photo
good.
of his
And
album.
his
Yeah.
first name again, I got Grand, and the first name, I just wanted to write it down.
David Grand. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Another question I wanted to ask you about, there's a lot of people who obviously are staying at home with their families. They may have lots of people in their household and they've got that contact, but there's also a lot of people who are totally alone at home. If they live by themselves or they've ended up being isolated by themselves, they don't have those other folks around. Are there ideas in particular that you have about how people that are living alone can balance those mental health issues with the social distancing that's required for them? Is there anything else, any suggestions for those folks of how they can maintain that balance?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, first and foremost, if they've got technology, we may be distant, but we are not alone. I've spent more time with Rotarians and friends this way than I have ever before. So if as long as they have technologies, there's no reason to be alone. But even for those who don't have technology, I've seen older folks, you know, like grandparents and such, whose kids come to the window and they're helping with homework, you know, socially distant, out on the porch, the kid's on one end of the porch, the other's on the other. So, I mean, we're not alone, but if you truly don't have support and you know someone who doesn't have support, I would encourage those who have children to send notes to those people on an every other day basis even, and they can put them on their doorstep. They can be even like little interactive things like Q&A. So let's say down the street from me, I knew there was somebody who lived alone and they didn't have any family. And let's say I had a 10-year-old. I might look up 20 questions that a 10-year-old would want to know. And I'd write those down on a note and I'd tape them to her door, and then she could write back to us and we could learn interactively that way. I might have my 8-year-old draw pictures for her. I might put cookies on her doorstep so they know that they're being thought of. And again, being able to stand out in front of their house and talk to them for a few minutes. I have neighbors similar to that, and they walk their dog and they stand on the sidewalk and I'm up on my porch and we spend 15 minutes talking. So we don't normally do that. Normally they would wave and say hi, and I'd say, oh, hi, how's Rocco doing? The puppy Rocco, he's doing well. All right, have a nice day. We're actually talking more now. So you got to get a little creative and a little inventive. Yeah. Now, for those who maybe just are alone, maybe I don't
So
know
you
what the
see them
circum.
maybe in an apartment or something, they don't have the ease of somebody coming and peeking in the window. Anything else for those?
Yeah, like something like that. Again, sending letters in the mail and sending interactive things in the mail. But if you have technology, then set up a time to connect with them. You can also encourage those people to decide what for themselves how they're going to utilize this time to their advantage. And at some point, I want to talk a little bit more about the decision making during this time. But there's all kinds of things. For instance, right now I am taking online classes. I've been wanting to do this for so long. And if I lived alone in an apartment, I would be doing this. They're called master classes. And I've seen them pop up in my advertisement on Facebook forever. And about everyone, I thought, oh, I wish I had time to do that. Well, I do have time now. So I'm taking two. As you said, I do like to cook online. So Thomas Keller is my favorite chef in the whole wide world. And he and Ina Garden. I'm taking Thomas Keller Master Chef classes and learning some really amazing true chef techniques. And then my favorite author is David Sedaris. I'm imagining there's some David Sedaris fans out there. He's hilarious. If you haven't listened to him, look up, download the book, Dress Your Family in Corduroy, I think it's called. And it's hilarious. There's just all kinds. He's super, super funny. And so I'm taking David Sedaris master classes on how to be a better writer of stories, because I do a lot of speaking in Rotary around the world, and I'm on stage a lot. And so I want to be a better presenter. I want to be a better storyteller. So those are two things, like if I lived alone, and I'm doing them whether I live alone or not, those are two things that I'm doing to keep busy. You can learn a new hobby. You can learn how to bake bread. I've seen a lot of that bread being baked these days. I'll admit, in my first week of this, I'm a low carb, diet kind of gal. I totally went like carbohydrate crazy, and my husband started baking bread, and we ate bread like for 7 days straight. So
there's a challenge balancing some of those good nutrition things with that, but no, those are great points. The other thing that you mentioned about children being involved with older people, we had a question sent in that was a great one about how to talk to those children, the preschoolers in particular, about this need to stay in the family bubble as we're in this time, and how do people like grandparents and others, how do we explain some of that to those preschoolers when they don't understand, why can't I do all those things I want to?
Sure. So, first and foremost, you're going to talk to different age groups differently. But no matter what, you want to focus on the positive, and you want to identify ways that they can be proactive in helping. So that you give them a sense of control. With early aged school children, you want to provide brief and simple information about this time and COVID facts. And you want to balance that with appropriate reassurance that adults are there to help to keep them healthy and to take care of them if somebody gets sick, if they get sick. That's what adults do. You might want to even give them some simple examples of the steps that people make every day to stop germs and to stay healthy, like washing hands. You can teach them how to wash hands properly. You might even want to use simple language like, adults are working hard to keep you safe. Those sorts of things. That's what an early age, early elementary school child is going to understand. When you get up more into the middle school or sort of earlier elementary, like, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, that age group is often more vocal in asking questions. So you need to be prepared to answer those questions in an age appropriate way. They may need more assurance or assistance rather, in sort of separating reality from rumor. Because again, they're probably on the internet more than you'd like them to be. And so you have to be prepared with more precise information to get them out of the fantasy rumor mill and get them concrete. You can discuss the more national and state level issues and the way community leaders are, what they're doing to help prevent germs from spreading and to help get people in a safer place. They'll understand that, whereas the, pre-elementary school kids won't. And then, with high school students, you need to just give them actually the great resources, the reliable resources. So they can go and look at them themselves. and be super honest with them and accurate, factual information, current status. And you need to engage them in the decision-making about how they can help the family to stay safe, with schedules, to help the younger children, all of that. But the most thing to do is notice, when you're going to talk to a child, no matter what, is to be calm, be factual, and be age appropriate. But also, before you initiate any discussion, you should probably reflect on your own feelings, and especially those of anxiety, because kids pick up on your anxiety, just like an animal does. Animals know, like your dogs and your cats know. Kids can read you really, really well. So check yourself first. Make sure that you're ready for the conversation. You may even want to have some talking points on paper, and you may even want to practice. If there's nothing wrong with practicing this with your spouse or in a video, so you make sure it doesn't sound weird, or that you would have understood it in that circumstance. But reassurance and facts are really the best things you can do.
Right. Okay. Holly, maybe it's a couple of people I think not muted that you might want to mute. Just one more piece on that one, Mary. What about the really young ones, the preschool, sort of the 3 and 4 year olds that are just at the age where they're used to going on lots of play dates and doing lots of things? Anything specific for that younger level?
Well, again, they just need reassurance that mommy and daddy or the adults in the world are keeping them safe, and that adults we've done lots of hard things in life, and this is a hard time, but we're going to get through it. They don't need a whole lot of information. If you're providing a routine and schedule for them at home, they may not notice a whole lot of difference other than that they're not playing with their mates. So reassuring them that this time is going to come to an end. You may want to even show a calendar, maybe have a sticker chart of some sort that marks the days down to a time when you think it might end. I don't know if it's going to actually be the end of April. And again, helping them to communicate on Zoom is great. If you have no families, if you can connect them that way, and they can do an interactive kind of playing with Play-Doh and things together, and doing that on the camera. Anytime you can connect them, that's the best thing. But just teaching them how to stay safe. This is a time for learning, just like any other time. So that's my best tips.
I have one more that was sent to me, and then I'm going to ask Holly if we have any others on the chat. The other one that came to me, which I thought is a great one that ties in with that. We don't know how long this is going to last exactly, but we know that things are going to look very different when it does end. And some people are thinking, oh, we're going to get back to normal, and others are saying, no, that normal is not normal anymore. There'll be a new normal, and we need to adjust and be ready to do some things very differently, and prepare perhaps for some of the stresses. And I can imagine we're soon going to be bombarded with lots of advertisements and things to get back to normal, even though it won't be the same. Any thoughts about how we can kind of prepare ourselves for what's coming? And this may tie into your comment about decision making as we plan ahead. It's not going to be the same. What do we need to think?
Yeah, you're right, it's not. But what we can control right now, as well as in the future, what we can control is our decisions. Right now, it's my decision on how I am going to handle this situation. I am in control of how I handle this situation. Life is not on pause. So we can either use this time for better, or we can fail to use it completely. So again, you have to decide what you're going to get out of this time. You need to set your goals now, and you need to set your goals for afterwards. I believe that there are going to be many good things that come out of this, that are going to be interesting changes. I think there's going to be a renaissance of the human spirit, of humanity. Will have connected to people in ways that we never did before, and at a frequency and with a passion like never before. Things are coming back that had gone by the wayside. I was born in 1967. Well, guess what? Growing up in that era, moms and dads and kids ate dinner together every single night at the kitchen table. My mother cooked every single night. Guess what? That went away at some point in the last 20 years. When? I don't know. But that is back. I am watching people online eating dinner together. Families are connecting like never before. I actually think there's going to be a lot of positive things that happen. I don't think there's going to be as much stress other than financial stress after this. So a renaissance is upon us. I believe we're going to value things differently. Our connections to each other will be completely different. We'll value that differently. We'll value being Rotarians differently. Maybe you'll come out of this a better Rotarian, a better neighbor, a better person. The human touch will be valued differently. Yes, I believe that some people are going to become more afraid of contact, but I think we'll also be less laissez-faire, how we treat things and how we think about the human touch and what we have touched and what we are touching. I think we'll be more conscientious and careful. But I also think there's a lot of us, like Rotarians love to hug, I think. If somebody even makes eye contact with me, I'm probably going to hug them, you know? So things will be different. Yes, you will be different, but hopefully you'll be different for the better. And the choice really is yours. Now, financially, you know, I've already heard a lot of Rotarians talking about how we can begin to support businesses now and afterwards. I think there's going to be a lot of advertisement about, you know, yes, the new normal, back to the world, support your locals, et cetera, et cetera. Fundraising is going to be kind of weird and change, but we'll adapt. We've adapted to much worse. We will adapt. We will get through this. Angel funds will become super important, especially, you know, for businesses and for fellow Rotarians who maybe can't afford their dues and things like that. So we just have to think about right now, you know, we are givers, we're doers. We are people of action, my gosh, you know? So how will we change? I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to be as negative as we might think. I actually think there's going to be a renaissance of the human spirit. So I'm very hopeful about the changes.
Well, that's good. I love that idea of renaissance of the human spirit. Thank you for saying that. That's a line that I may copy from you. That was terrific.
Absolutely.
You had said you wanted to speak a bit about decision making, so I don't want to lose that before we finish off.
Yeah, I think I basically just covered it. You know, my you know, the essence of what I just said is that this decision, this choice of how you handle this situation is yours. Again, don't fail to use this time. Don't fail to use the time afterwards to, yeah, I guess I'm a little nervous that everyone's just going to kind of go back to normal. You know, I often talk about sort of this living above our means and the hallucination, delusional thinking that, you know, everything's online and I can have everything immediately and instant gratification. I hope this changes that a little bit. I hope we don't go back to just being the way we used to be. I hope this is somewhat of a wake-up call that people matter, that connections matter, our relationships matter, products matter. We shouldn't be so wasteful. I think we're all a bit too wasteful. Time matters. So yeah, just gratitude, you know, be grateful for what this is going to teach us and how you can come out deciding to be better than you were when you went into this. That's it.
Those are just great points, Mary. I'm so appreciative, and I have so much gratitude for your willingness as a Rotarian to serve and to give of your time to participate with us, because you've given us a lot of good ideas, and I was seeing some people write some things down, and I wrote some things down. Holly, do we have any other questions? I'd had a few sent to me before. Are there any others that we should be checking in on before we wind this part up?
I don't have any in the chat box, and I don't see anyone with their hand up.
Okay. We'll just give people a few seconds and see if there's anything else coming. I had a few of those sent to me earlier, so that was great to have those. If not, we may go to our closing part like we did last week. Last week we started this process and we had a game, and we've got another round of that for people to try and answer a skill testing question and have their name entered into a draw for some allegedly wonderful prizes. There'll be a prize basket at the end of these 12 weeks that we have. So I'm going to switch to a shared screen that will take us to that, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll try that. Whoa.
Oh,
The right way. There we are. So here we go with Isolation Feud. Everybody needs to be paying attention. Okay, so your question for today, and there are 6 possible answers, and we're going to let Mary go first just because she's our guest while everybody else thinks, and other people will have to, in the chat, let Holly know if you need to be audio stopped so you can give your choice. So the skill twisting question is about new habits that you have while staying at home. So obviously you're at home, that's not a new habit, but there are some other things that apparently are becoming quite common and things that people are doing that they might not have done before. So I want to hear, what do you think some new habits are that you've developed or other people have developed now that they're staying at home more? So that's the question. So Mary, if you want to take a first crack at this, what would be your first guess?
Number one answer, I think, is cooking or baking.
Well, actually, that's pretty close. I'll give you the one that's about food. So there's one about junk food, and it's not exactly the same, but I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to be generous on that one because you've been so good with us. The others I might be a little tougher to get the right answer. Holly, anybody else have a choice?
Yeah, in the chat room, I see Dawn McKenzie was the first one into the chat.
Well, let's have Dawn's guess. Dawn, you must have a good one. What do you think?
Continual hand washing.
Oh, you know what? It's not there. It's not. That shouldn't be a new thing. It's a good answer. It's a really, really good answer, but it wasn't one of the top ones that came from this extensive survey, but I like it. And I might give you kind of a bonus on that one, but it's not one that's probably, maybe it's new, shouldn't be new. Anybody else?
Yeah, the second one is coming from Leanne.
Leanne.
Berge?
Yeah, bourgeois. I said organization.
Organization. Huh. Don't see that one either in this extensive survey. They're tough. They're tough.
Okay, our next one is, and sorry people, I can't see hands at the moment, only the chat room, and you're just zooming in here. The next one is Lori Ann Jones.
Lori Ann, what do you think?
Whoops, where's my thing? Exercise.
Oh my gosh, that's not one of them either.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna give you a boo on that one. What else are you doing? Think, folks. What's changed in your day and how your day looks?
Okay, the next one is from Lori Ann Jones.
Oh, we just had Lori Ann.
Oh, sorry. Next one is Jane Simmons.
Jane, what do you think?
Oh, I have to unmute. I said attending Zoom meetings and.
Not only attending Zoom meetings, but taking pictures of Zoom screens and posting them. Good for you, Jane. You're in the draw. Well done. Anybody else?
The next one is from Darren Hansen.
Darren, what have you got from New Brunswick?
Taking a nap.
Taking a nap. That's a really good one. I tell you what, I'm going to give you that one. Wait, now why isn't that one coming up? That it sort of goes with people wearing pajamas and sweatpants all the time, that you're taking a nap, you're probably leaving the jammies, and in fact, the one that I saw was not only are they in pajamas, but they're often the faded Christmas pajamas or sweatpants. I'm gonna let you have that one for taking a nap. Any others?
Yep, the next one is from Edward.
Edward. Not sure which Edward that is, but let's see.
So Edward's in a D.
Edward D. Who's Edward D? What have you got? Unmute them.
Yep, he's unmuted. No, he's gone back again.
Okay.
Okay, his answer was communicating with family.
Me, Louisa, Diana from Rotary International staff.
Okay, Diana, I'm glad you're back. Okay, Diana, that's you. Communicating with family. You know what? I'm gonna have to say, no, not there either. Not there either. It's a good one. I like them all.
Okay.
How do you get in?
Let us, there you go. If somebody has an answer, let's hear it.
Yep. So the next one is from, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Joanne.
Trying out new recipes. I already said pajamas, but it's up there.
Recipes. Well, that kind of goes with the food and the cooking and the junk food. So I'm going to leave that one. I'm soon going to tell you because you're running out here. Get a few more winners in.
Okay. The next one is Frida. It's less shopping.
Less shopping. I like that. Oh, I'm going to give you the other less one. There's one that's a lot of stuff that we're doing less of, which was showering, shaving, and doing your hair. So I'm going to put that in the less shopping category because it's all stuff we're doing less of. Any more?
Yeah. Clean. Letitia,
Letitia, yeah.
are you on?
Yeah, cleaning surfaces more.
Cleaning. We had surfaces, and that's a very good one, or the cleaning one, and that should have been there. I like that one, and it should have been there, but it isn't. So I'm going to have to give a no on that one, but I'm going to give a couple more chances. That was a great one. Yeah.
The next one is Sonia.
Sonia, what do you think?
Watching TV series.
Oh, finally, somebody got screen time. So all of those screen time things, TV. One more, and this is kind of a serious-y one too. It's not a silly one. What else are we doing? And actually, Mary mentioned that this was one of the things we could be doing when we've got time at home. So there's your hint for this last one.
Okay, this might be it then. Lori Ann Jones.
Oh, we'll give Lori another chance.
Whoops, learning.
You got it, Lorianne. Yay! 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 So we got them all. There were lots of other good ones, but thank you for that. That was great. I'm pleased that you played along. We'll have a few more people in our draw. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mary again on behalf of the almost 100. I think at one point I saw almost 100 people participating. The session is also being recorded, and so it'll be available if you want to share it with other folks. So I thank you very much for participating, and we'll just go with a little bit more appropriate music for this particular time from Atlantic Canada.
Stay the blazes home, stay the blazes home. Think about the common good, stay the blazes home. If you got the inkling, you wanna go to town, remember there's a nasty bug going around. This ain't no time to wander, it ain't no time to roam. So listen up to Stevie boy, stay the blazes home. Stay the blazes home, stay the blazes home. Listen up to Stevie boy, stay the blazes home. If you got the hankering to go and get your fix, to party with your buddies and drink a beer or six, have at your kitchen parties, but do it over the phone. Listen up to Dr. String, stay the blazes home. Well, stay the blazes home, stay the blazes home. Listen up to Dr. String, stay the blazes home. If you read an article you found upon the net that told you something different than our government, it ain't no propaganda, and you might whine and moan. Think about the common good, stay the blazes home. Ah, stay the blazes home, stay the blazes home. Think about the common good, stay the blazes home. Stay the blazes home, stay the blazes home. Think about the common good, stay the blazes